So you're currently on your manifestation journey. For some of you, it's about that SP, or for a lot of you, it's about that SP. For some of you, it's about money, health, and just plain happiness. But you're also getting triggered by the 3D. The 3D can often be our nemesis. You know, it sends us into this spiral of despair where we lose ourselves, where we lose track. Sometimes we're affected for days, weeks, even months, depending what it is that we've encountered, that just throws us off course. And why does it have so much power? You do see a lot of coaches, you know, some of them give you actually good, handy advice, you know, those of them that actually have knowledge and experience in all of this. But then you also come across some that are just very simply like, well, if you've changed state, you shouldn't be reacting to the 3D. Don't react to the 3D, just ignore it. Ignore the 3D, right? Like it's the easiest thing to do, but no helpful advice or guidance to actually help you on your journey. So I hope that this video will give you some clarity and some comfort and serve to empower you during this process, even when the 3D is acting like that nemesis that triggers you and takes you off course all of the time. First up, I just want to thank you all for joining me. I'm Athena Raven, a mental health and manifestation life coach. Welcome to my new YouTube channel. Please do like and subscribe to the content to help this channel to grow and to help a wider audience as well that could use this content to build on their journey. I really do appreciate all of you for being here, and I hope you'll find this video useful on your path. Now, the 3D. Where to begin? I've been doing this. So I discovered Nevilles Works about like almost 20 years ago. So I'm, you know, it was in my early 20s. I'm in my 40s now. And, you know, I came across it all and I started to, you know, read about it, learn about it, listen to his lectures, but also come across the likes of Abraham Hicks, Joe Dispenza, you know, and I started to kind of branch out in the psychological side of things and how it works, as well as the spiritual side of things, the religious side of things, just looking at it from all angles to get a holistic view as to what was going on, why does this work, and to attach a meaning to it that just worked and resonated with me. I know that all of you are on this journey as well. And when you've got a specific thing in mind, you've got your goal, you've got your desire, you've sat with it, you've thought about it, and you've been really, really clear as to, okay, this is what I want, and this is what the end scene looks like. And you're, you know, revisiting and envisaging that end scene through your visuals. Perhaps some of you are doing sats in the evenings, in the mornings. Some of you will be scripting it out as well, using affirmations as well, and various other techniques too, that just help you to shift into that state of it is done, it has been absorbed in here, I have planted the seed, and that desire is coming to fruition. And we always focus on the end. We always go right to the end because that's where the magic happens. There is no room for error, and we are not supposed to have control over that pesky bridge of incidents, which in my previous video with regards to the bridge of incidents and how it panned out for me in my SP, you'll realize and understand that even from that encounter, I mean, that was a massive learning lesson for me, that things don't always pan out exactly as you expect. Things aren't always smooth sailing, and we have to remind ourselves of that when we go through this process, when our 3D reality sometimes gives us a bit of a kickback. Now, even in all of my experience, almost 20 years of studying knowledge and putting it to practice myself, testing it for myself, and then of course eventually coaching others to do the same, am I still triggered by the 3D, or am I completely immune to it after all this time? Definitely not immune to it. Definitely not immune to it. If you think about it, especially at my age, I had years and years and years of programming to think a specific way. We're always taught to believe in this cause and effect reality. You know, something happens outside of us, we feel detached from it, we feel like it's out of our control, we immediately react to it. You know, and it's an instantaneous thing. It's a carnal thing. You know, something distressing happens. It evokes fears of either anger or emotions of like anger or real like fear, anxiety. And what are those emotions there for? You know, they're programmed into us. They are part of our genetic makeup in order to push us into action. And that's what we do. It pushes us into action, often no logic behind it. Sometimes it's just all emotional, where we're there trying to control it. You know, okay, someone's reacted to me this way, I'm going to fight them back with a response. I'm going to text this person back. You know, I'm going to chase for this outcome. I'm going to force this. And really, we have to kind of take a step back from it all and realize this isn't how the process works. You know, that bridge of incidence doesn't always pan out as you expect. And so when you're reacting to it and triggered by it and spiraling from it, then it's an indication that you've not completely shifted to the state of the wish fulfilled. And that's not to say as well, I mean, from my personal experience, when I've shifted to the state of the wish fulfilled, I've still had a reaction to the 3D, because I don't see that there's any way out of that. We are human, you know, and this is just naturally what we do. Our five senses are there. Detecting something is there in the way. We perceive it as some sort of threat to us, you know, threat to our manifestation, threat to our end goals and desires, threat to everything. You naturally go into that I must take action mode. Now, only yesterday did I come across an undesirable event in a manifestation that I'm working on currently. And I realized still that even with all my experiences, you know, I manifest things all the time, quite easily and fluidly, but there's certain manifestations, depending on what meaning I've applied to it, that I know is going to take time, because I have to do a greater shift and discover for myself a lot of inner beliefs that I harbor, become more conscious and aware of them in order to change them. And so sometimes that process of mourning and, you know, mourning the old life, killing off the old man, you know, going into the new, embodying the new state, it can take a bit of time. That's why I always say, you know, not to be harsh on yourself, not to push yourself, not to rush these things, and just let things unfold naturally. So I had an undesirable event happen, and it triggered me. It absolutely did. And it sent me into a spiral of anxiety. Now, I've always, you know, since childhood, a very, very young age, had suffered with chronic anxiety and depression. This is, again, the reason why, you know, I'd not only experienced therapy for myself, but also learnt about, you know, modalities of therapy too, to try and counteract this. And I can say that definitely from the person that I am now to how I was back then, and how reactionary I was to things and stuff, I'm definitely a lot better. But some of those deep-seated beliefs still remain, still at the very core. You know, that old programming that I had since I was 5 years old, you know, still stuck around. And in some cases is a case of, okay, you know, I accept it. But anyway, I reacted and immediately went into panic mode, control the 3D, must do this. Now, luckily, I think with my years of experience and my understanding of everything, I was able to not keep that spiral going for too long. I must admit, I'm still feeling a bit kind of angsty to my stomach from it all, but I have decided to attach a different meaning to it and to recalibrate and to refocus again and challenge those negative thinking patterns in order to realize, okay, you know, this was meant to happen. This is part of the journey. And even if it wasn't, you just tell yourself, it is part of the journey. This is part of my wish fulfilled. This is part of the bridge of incidence that needs to occur. In doing that, you don't get so triggered by it. And in doing that, it doesn't act like a blocker or an obstacle in your way. It doesn't derail you from your end result. You can just, okay, I don't like it. I don't like this outcome at the moment, but perhaps it's serving a purpose in some way, or maybe it's not, but you know, if I can't attach a positive meaning to it, like, okay, that was meant to happen for this, that, and the other reason, if there's nothing too obvious that's jumping to your mind, then you can just look at it as, okay, this was meant to happen for my manifestation coming to be, and this is not going to be an obstacle. This is not going to be a blocker in my end result. In fact, it could possibly serve a purpose to bring my manifestation to be. But as I'd said from my previous video with my SP, that bridge of incidence can be a bit up and down. It's not always smooth sailing. It's not always an instantaneous progress. So there's my SP, absolutely perfect, absolutely as I envisaged him, and he totally loves and adores me, and everything is perfect. We're straight in a relationship. Not always the case. Sometimes there's that communication first, then there's a bit of a breakdown, then there's a bit of nastiness, then there's blocking again, and then it comes back again, and then there's more communication, and then, you know, so this is sometimes how it's meant to pan out, meant to work. This is sometimes how it happens. We have no control over the middle, but as long as we stay true to the end and we go back and revisit the end result through our visualizations of what that end scene looks like that depicts you have your desire now, if you can stay true to that and revisit it often, just remind yourself, okay, well, I've implanted the seed, so this is my bridge of instance, this is meant to happen even though it's undesirable. Now, when I was reflecting back upon this undesirable event, I thought to myself, oh my God, out of my control, this is crazy, what's happened? But I realized upon reflection, I was like, okay, actually, I had manifested this, because in wanting to reach my end goal, which is something that I've never tried before, is a different, it's a desire that I'm after, that, I've never been in this position. I particularly want this outcome for, but there was this blockage that I was aware of, I was conscious of, and I was worried about on a regular basis, and was thinking to myself, I don't want communication from that avenue. I don't want anything coming from this particular avenue that will send me into a spiral. I don't want things being fed back to me that obviously work against my assumption. And I had this sort of thought process of, no, I just want to be focused on this. I want to be detached from all of that. I want complete detachment. I want complete, non-existence of this avenue. Just want this kind of thing cut off for the moment. Now, what's happened is that avenue got blocked off, and I immediately attached these horrible meanings to it. Oh my God, what does this mean? Why has this happened? What have they done? What the thoughts and feelings with regards to me as a person and opinions? And it was that immediate, the inner child in me sort of screaming out for, oh my God, why has that happened? Takes me back to old things, and I'm suddenly flashing back to bad things and bad events, or feelings of a rejection, of abandonment, or whatever it is. But I remembered, actually, that is kind of what I wanted. That is what I wanted. Okay, I didn't want it to be as drastic as that outcome, but I did want for that to not be a problem, to not serve as a blocker in my, future goal. And so now, I guess it's not going to be a problem now, but of course I still reacted and I panicked. And you just do sometimes, and you can't be hard on yourself. You just use anything that happens as feedback loop. To recalibrate yourself and to learn from your experience. Okay, this happened, I didn't like it. Why did it happen like this? Am I potentially going off course? Did I have feelings that sabotage this situation? Or this is just meant to happen. This is part of the bridge of instance, because now I can just fully focus on the end result without having these outside obstacles constantly feeding back to me, triggering me all the time. Let's just block these avenues off. So it's all dependent, this whole process, all dependent on the mindset that you have, the inner talking that you have going on, the thoughts that are constantly recurring. This is why I say it's so important to be aware of it all, because you can actually learn a lot in this process. And anytime you find yourself triggered, you're just like, okay, apply a different meaning to it. That was meant to happen as part of my manifestation. And okay, I manifested this outcome as well because I was worried about it happening, because I wanted it to change, because I didn't want it to be an obstacle. And so this had to happen. Now it's, I guess, no longer a problem, and it's all dependent on your mindset. Just as long as you realign, refocus back within yourself and your visual, then you can't be derailed anymore. You will continue on your path and you will reach your end result. But sometimes just keep in mind that bridge of incidence doesn't pan out exactly as you expect. And this is why we don't mess with the middle. This is why we don't try to control the 3D. This is why we always go to the end with our visuals, because we don't control it. How does it say in scripture? Actually, I will find a verse here. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So my ways are higher than your ways. The subconscious mind has already been planted with this seed of desire. And all we need to do is to allow it to naturally unfold. And if we're meant to take any action, then we will naturally be moved, a natural feeling, not a feeling of force, of anxiety, of being triggered and reactionary, but it all feels very natural. It just feels like it's coming from within you. You feel like it's your own free will almost, and you're just going along with the flow. You're going with the flow of things happening, and you're trusting in the fact that your unconscious has got this planned out. So if bad things are meant to happen before you reach that end goal, then those bad things are meant to happen, but they'll be happening in such a way that it will, that you will still reach that end desire. We just have to have faith and trust in the process and understand that the more you do this, and the more, that's why I say it's important to have other goals and other little manifestations on your path, because you can see stuff unfolding, and it's not always instant and wonderful. Sometimes it is, but not always. Sometimes you have to go through things. Sometimes you have to, if you're manifesting a promotion or career opportunity of some kind, sometimes you have to lose your job first in the most horrible, unexpected way possible before you are reborn into the new state where you have this new career, where your dreams are fulfilled, you're your own business person, you're your own boss, whatever it was that you desired, all of that comes to be, So I really hope that this gives you comfort for any of you who are reacting to the 3D, for any of you who are struggling on your journey as your bridge of incidence is unfolding. Just take faith and hope in this, change your mindset and get yourself back on track. You've got this. Sending you all the love in the world. Thank you for joining.